Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tech with Alex Badger. In this video, I'll walk you through how to create custom commands in a Laravel 11 application to perform custom or defined actions through the console or a scheduler. Let's get started. There are quite a couple of benefits to using to defining custom commands. You can perform operations behind the scenes. So there are a couple of transactions or actions that takes time that the browser timeout will not allow a particular application to execute within that time limit. So you want to perform those actions behind the scenes, so you can use Laravel commands, and then it can also be used to set up application. You just want to be able to populate a database with data, or you want to create dummy data, and then you want to set up a project, and then you want to have the name, maybe email, password, and all of that for a particular account, and then give them the option to choose the role. So for you to be able to achieve all of this, there's what we call the artisan console in Laravel. It's actually inbuilt, shipped with Laravel, where you can run commands just like you do in your regular command line interface or CLI or Git Bash. So the regular way you run commands there, you can say make directory, cd, and then all of these commands you run on a terminal. You can also run those commands within a Laravel application, and it exists at the root of the application. So when you open your application, at the very basic root of the application, you can run artisan commands. Yeah, there are a couple of commands that are shipped with Laravel. So for example, if you want to take a look at all the commands that are written, this is a project I created initially. You can find the video on my YouTube channel on how to set up authentication feature in a Laravel 11 application using Laravel Fortify. So this is the root of the application. So if you want to take a look at, say, PHP artisan, then you could say list. So this is an inbuilt command that actually lists all the commands that are shipped with Laravel. So you could see migrate, root, scope, see that, session table, test, view, queue flush, route cards, save, schedule. So you can actually use this schedule to run commands. Like I said during the intro, there is schema, there is storage, there is top, there is vendor, and there is view. There are quite a couple of commands that are shipped with Laravel. So if you want to serve an application, for example, you say PHP artisan serve, and then you do dash dashboard. So I'm going to show you when we're creating the custom commands how to do something like this, where you can specify a particular option for a particular command to make use of. So you can run use this command to actually serve your application. So this repository I'm going to be using for the demo is the blog application repository I built. So you can check out my YouTube channel for that video, and then you can actually follow along, or you could just pull the repository from my GitHub and then just to follow along. So I'm not going to go through all of those post model, and then how to create a post, the post controller, and all of those things. They are done in other videos. For you to be able to create a custom command in Laravel, there is the PHP artisan make command that you can use, then followed by the name of that command you want to create. So in this situation, we want to create a blog post command. So this command would actually create a blog post in the application. And so when you press enter, it will go ahead to create that file. So I'll go ahead and open it, create blog post. Now this is the command that has been created. This create blog post command and any other command you're going to be creating can be located under the app folder. So if you come to the app folder and you go to console, and inside the console you will see commands, so you can find it here. So this is the command we just created. Now for every basic command that is created in Laravel, there are a couple of things that come shipped in. So you could see the signature by default. So it actually just create a name for it out of the box, because then this is the command description, and then this is the handle. So I'm going to walk you through each of them. So for this, now we're saying we want to update the signature to say blog, let's just say blog create posts. So this is the name of the command. So what this means is that for every time you want to run a command, you can use this. So Laravel is going to register this blog create post as part of the commands of the application. I will come here and specify a description for the command. I'll say a command to create blog posts for the blogging application. Then I save. So there are other attributes that can be added, but let me just go over to the command line interface so that you can see that it has been registered. So I'll say PHP artisan list. So when you come to this here you could see this is blog create post, a command to create blog post for the blogging application. So you could see now this command is now recognized. So if we run this command, we will be able to see what the command is doing. So you can actually add let's say protected, for example, and then you can add help. So for example, when you are dealing with Laravel, there's a help flag that can be added to a particular command to explain what that command is doing. So I can add a helper text here to say this command requires the following parameters for it to work correctly. So this is just an example of how the help works. So I can come back here and then I'll say PHP artisan blog, and I'll say create post, and I'll say help. So you could see it says here this command requires the following parameters for it to work correctly. You can actually hide a command you created for your application. So you could come here and say protected, and then you could say hidden, and then you say true. So by this now, when we come back here and say, let me clear this. When we come back here and say PHP artisan list, so if you come back here, you will not be able to see the blog any longer. So you could see now it's no longer here because we've actually changed the value of the hidden to be true. So but if we say false and then we head back here to, so I'll just clear that now and then say PHP artisan and then say list. So you could see, so when you scroll up, you could see that the blog has been restored. So you can actually hide a particular command for the application. Yeah, okay, so next you have to update the handle. So this ideally when you execute a command in Laravel, so it actually calls the handle method because this is the method that gets executed when you run a command. So here we're saying every time this command is being executed, create a post with title, generate a random string, and then for the content, and then a user ID for 3. So this could be anything. This could be you just trying to create an account for a particular application with maybe a default email and some things, and then this info is used to log the message to the console to say blog post created successfully. And this is also, you can actually use this to also display a particular error. Say for example, you're expecting an input from a user and then the user didn't give that input. So you can use the error. This is going to show like the text is going to have a red background because this is using the error method to display the message. After updating the handle method, I'll just come to the terminal and say PHP artisan blog create post, and then I'll press enter. So you see it says blog post created successfully. So it has actually created a blog post for us from the terminal. Yeah, all right. So that being said, that's the basic of running a command. But imagine you want to have flag, like probably you want to accept data from the user. You want to get the title, the content, and the user ID from the input. Say for example, something like this, PHP artisan blog create post. We want to get the title from the user, the content, and the user ID. For you to be able to achieve this is what we call arguments. So custom commands in Laravel accept arguments. So initially, the first demo I did was that we just have signature and then there was no parameters passed in. But right now, I've updated it to say blog create post. You will get a title, content, and user ID. So it must be in this order. If you don't supply it in this order, it will throw an error. And then all these parameters are required. So if I go ahead here and then I try to create without sending user ID, it will actually say not enough argument, user ID is missing. Now, what this means is that all these parameters, they must be imputed by the user before they can actually proceed to create a post. So I'm going to explain what it looks like if you want some parameters or some flags or some arguments to be optional. And then, so if you want to get the input from the command line, from the custom command, so you can use arguments to get the title, the content, and the user ID. So if you want to get all of the parameters that were filled in by the user, you can use this, all right, arguments, and then you'll be able to retrieve all the inputs, all the flags. I'm going to be calling them flags or you can call them attributes. All the attributes or flags that were passed in with the command, you can use arguments to get all of them, and probably you want to check something or you want to perform certain tasks. So that's just for argument. So I will go ahead. So this is what I did here. I said if title is not supplied, put string, generate a random string. If content is not supplied, generate a random string. And then if user is not supplied, user ID is not supplied, generate just passing 3. Now the reason why I'm casting it here is because every input of the console comes in as a string. So that is why I'm casting it here to an integer value, because if I don't cast it here, it's just going to throw an error, because in the post table, I defined this to be an integer and not a string. So it's going to throw an error. That is why I have to cast it here. So when you head back to the terminal and then I say user underscore ID and I say maybe 2, for example, and I press enter. So you could see it says blog post created successfully. That's because all the commands, all the flags or attributes that are expected when this command is being executed have been supplied correctly. But what if you want some parameters to be optional? So you can actually come here, like this one I uncommented now. So you can use the question mark to specify what flag or what attribute is optional for a particular custom command. But if you don't put question mark on title, for example, it will actually require title. Title will be compulsory, while content and user ID will be optional. However, it must be in the order in which I have actually stated it here. If you have flags or attributes that are optional, they have to come after the required. So if I take this title down here, it's going to throw an error. So every required flag or attribute for a particular custom command or command must come before the optional. So when I head back to the terminal and I say PHP artisan blog create posts and I say title, I just do Laravel and I press enter. So you see it's going to be successful because title was supplied, and title, the other ones are optional. All right, so next, let's assume just part of the flags or attributes definition for a particular custom command you are creating. The first one we look at now was argument, and then so there is another one called option. So if you want to deal with option, so what our option does is that you have to append multiple hyphens to a particular attribute or flag you are trying to execute with a particular custom command. So what I did here is that I come to signature here. Now this is just what it looks like for anything that you're going to be doing. So this is the initial one we looked at called argument, and this is the one for option. So for option, you have to specify the double hyphen for every flag. So for every command you want to execute, you pass in this requirement for it to be able to create a particular post. And then if they are not being passed in, there is a default value that is being stored there. So for you to be able to get when you are dealing with option, so when you are using the multiple hyphen for option, you have to use the option method. And then just like argument, if you want to get everything that comes in from the option, you can just do options and then it will retrieve all the options for you. So now I'll just go ahead to create. So this is PHP artisan. So you see dash title, dash content, dash user ID, and I press enter. So it goes ahead to create a blog post. So this is just similar with when you say PHP artisan serve dash port. So you actually see how this was created in Laravel, right? So this is just what it looks like. So you can see it is now being served on port 8000 on port 8001. So this is basically what we just achieved now. All right, so next is the progress bar. You would have come across a situation where when you are creating a Laravel application, you could see that it is showing progress bar. Maybe for example, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with a percentage symbol at the end, and then you will now see 100% completed. So if you are creating a custom command, you just want to entertain the user. Maybe you created a project, a hospital management system or a school management system, and then while they are trying to run certain commands, certain custom commands you created for the application to be properly set up or for the application to work properly as expected, you want to display progress bar for them to know that, okay, yes, this thing is making progress, or you want to display progress bar to notify you of the progress of the command that is being executed. So you use, when you come to the command, to the signature still, you have to update the signature. So here I'm actually using the option to take a flag, number of posts, and then so the number of posts will determine how the percentage will be structured. So I can say 10, 15, or 20. So We're just using this to explain. I'm just using this to explain how it works. So you can actually have a number inbuilt there. So when you define that signature, I just want to accept the number of posts to be created. Then just over here, so I just take in the option here, and then I cast it to an int, because every input that is coming from a command line interface will come in as a string. So I'm actually using int here to cast it to an integer value. So you can use the create progress bar to actually pass in the value of the progress bar, and then you get the bar. So you can start the bar here. So this method starts the bar, and then so I'm not saying for I equal to 1, and then I is less than equal to maybe 10 or 5 increment, the regular for loop, and then I will say advance. So this advance means for every step it takes, take this further. If there are 5 posts that will be created, so if it takes the first step, it will take 1, 2, 3 to be taking it further. So when it is done, it will just do finish. So it means this has been successful, and then I will not put out a message. So when you head over to the terminal, and then this is PHP artisan block create post, and then I pass in the option flag number of posts, and I say 10, and then I press enter. So you could see it will go ahead to say, you see 10 10. So it says 10 blog posts created successfully with progress bar. So this is how you can create a progress bar. When you are setting up a Laravel application, or you are trying to require a package using Composer, you could actually see this progress bar actually being displayed. This is how the progress bar is being achieved. All right, so like I said in the introduction, you may want to set up an application, probably ask some questions, get some input, and then just proceed to scaffold the application. So I've returned this back to the usual signature command block create post. And then so you have other things you can actually do when you create a custom command in Laravel. So for example, you can take secret here. So I'm just going to comment this. I'll just explain them one after the other. So you can actually take a secret here, and then you could just give out the attribute. So I'm just going to say password here. So for example, probably you are setting up an application, and then you want to ask the user for their password, and you don't want it to be visible when you are doing that. So when you come to the command here, and I say PHP artisan blog create, and I say post, so it will say what is the password. So when I type the password, I will say here, so it won't show anything, but when you press enter, it will actually show you the password. So if you are setting up an application and you're asking user for their password, you want to use the secret method, which actually gets it done. Then also you could actually ask for a feedback. Probably, for example, you want to get a feedback from a user that is actually interacting with your application from the command line. So I'm just going to go clear, and then I'll just say PHP artisan blog create post, and then I press enter. It says, do you like my blog post? So this second option I have here, yes, is like a default value. If the user does not supply anything, it will be yes. So you see it here. So when you are creating a Laravel application, some of these questions come up like this, and then you see a default value. So I can say no, and I press enter. It says using ask method, it says no. So this is what this does. And then also you can actually confirm something, and then them just uncomment this. So you can confirm something, and then just to do something. Probably you are setting up an application, and then you have basic and premium accounts for that application. So you just say, so I'll go ahead and clear that, and I'll say PHP artisan blog create post. I'll just press enter. So it says, do you wish to continue, yes or no? So if I say no, the next block of code will, so it says user said no. So if I go ahead again and run that command, and then it says this, I'll say yes. So it now say, what is your name? So this what is your name, like I said before, that is asked, there is a default value, Alan Spadger. So if I don't enter anything, it will return Alan Spadger. So I press enter, so it returns Alan Spadger. But if I go back and say block create post, and I say yes, and then I say what is your name, and then it says what's your name, I'll say tech with Alan Spadger. So it returns text with Alan Spadger. So this is what this actually does. Then also there is choice. So when you come to choice here, there is choice here. So it can ask you for choice, and then you can actually supply choice. So if you notice in Laravel, in the recent Laravel 11 application setup, you see it will ask you what database default do you want to use, MySQL and all of those things. So if you run blog create post, so it says video, article, podcast. So I'm just going to say, so by default it's on video. So I'm just going to say one article, and then you could see here it says using choice method, it returns article. And then if you want to register maybe probably want to register a command, because you can actually run a command through the console, maybe on your dev environment, or on the server, or probably on a cloud platform. You just go into the console and run some commands, or you want to schedule the commands, or you want to execute the command within a command. You can also register commands in your Laravel application. In Laravel 11, if you want to register a command, you will come to app. So this app here, app.php, is under the bootstrap folder. So if you come here, you see this is where it is. So I'll just come here. In recent Laravel, in Laravel 11, there's been restructuring of all of these things. It is just quite similar with what has been happening before. But right now, instead of registering it in a file, so you can actually register all of those stuff here. So I'll just uncomment this, and then so so this will actually just register it. So it is being imported up here. So you can register more. You can just do command and register more classes here. So this is how you register commands in Laravel. So this is basically what it looks like when you are dealing with, and there are more stuff you can actually do with when you are creating a custom command in Laravel. You can actually take a look at the documentation. I'll also leave the link to the article in the description below. That's pretty much it on how to create a custom command in a Laravel 11 application. Let me know what you think about creating custom command in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so that when I have my subsequent video uploaded, you'll be notified. And then don't forget to also share the video with your friends, with your cycle. Until next time, bye.